Today I'm gonna be playing Poppy Mod on Minecraft while talking about Reddit stories and discussing them and just reading them out to you guys. As long as I don't die, everything should be good. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's get started. Uh, I'm 23 and my boyfriend is 23 as well. We've been dating for 1 year and he is bad at everything and it's making me lose respect for him. Okay, so I'm going crazy in my head here because I don't know if I'm just the world's hugest bee or what. Basically, my boyfriend, let's call him Steve, cool name, is just not good at doing anything. Wait, that's not true. He's good at outdoorsy stuff and is apparently good at his job in catering. Aside from that, question mark. For example, I feel like I can't do anything with him that involves any skill or is even slightly competitive because one, he's a sore loser, and two, he never wins. Capitalize is crazy. Um, when I stayed with his family over Christmas, they had a Scrabble board, and because it was snowy and boring, of course, I tried to pass the time playing Scrabble with him, and I'm not even a good Scrabble player, and I still crushed him every game. And eventually, after a few, I just couldn't play anymore because I had to spend about 10 minutes after every game making sure he felt better about himself. After giving up on Scrabble, we switched to playing Sorry. We had to stop playing that too because I couldn't handle the mental toll of continuously beating him at Sorry. That's is crazy. Okay, let's keep going. Another time, we went to a board game night with some friends, and he couldn't understand the rules for most of the board games, and afterwards vented to me about how stupid the games were and why there was no point having rules so complicated no one could grasp them. He was the only one who couldn't grasp them in parentheses. Dude, I imagine they were trying to play like tic-tac-toe and you still needed to explain it to him. Um, Other times we'll play casual stuff like air hockey or foosball, which I didn't think even required any strategy other than spinning the little plastic dudes really fast. And he'll still lose every single time and get upset about it. I don't care about winning, I just want to have fun, and it feels like it's impossible to have fun because playing anything with him feels like playing against a goddamn 5-year-old. That sucks. Okay. But wait, this thread isn't entitled My Boyfriend is Terrible at Games, so here's some other stuff. His internet stopped working a while back, so he called me and I told him to use his mobile data to download the troubleshooting manual for his router and see if he could fix it. He didn't manage, so I went to his place later and found he downloaded the manual for the wrong router. Okay. How do you. Okay, okay. I won't blame him here. Some of them have really complicated names like X14 Seagull router, you know. It wasn't even for the right brand. Okay. No corrected. Forget what I just said. I ended up fixing his problem and then he ranted to me about how all these router manufacturers make their manuals so hard to use like there's some sort of deliberate conspiracy to keep everyone in confusion unless they're a genius. I'm not a quote unquote genius, I'm just capable of following simple written instructions. Okay, so at first I thought she was just complaining about him being bad at games, but he seems like he is pretty bad at stuff outside of games too. Alright, let's keep going. Also, he wants to go back to school to do a master's degree. Okay, I respect it. But he needs to do some prereqs, including a math unit where he's struggling with a lot of the material. But as far as I can tell, it's all stuff he learned in high school. Lately, he's been posting Facebook updates about how hard it is to learn logarithms. My school covered logarithms in grade 9, and even though I can't remember how to do them off the top of my head, I don't recall them being particularly hard at the time. And aside from that, I'm getting real tired of being expected to be sympathetic when increasingly I just want to yell, well, maybe if you weren't such a dumbass. But if I even hint that maybe he should be able to deal with his own emotions, Example, honey, I know you couldn't get the pizza dough the shape you wanted, but it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, right? I get accused of being unsympathetic to his feelings. Well, what about my feelings? That I don't want constant rolly coverage of every tiny thing that bothers you. That seems really hard. Okay. But he's also an incredibly sweet, hardworking person who treats me well, and his boss and coworkers all say he doesn't just work hard, but is actually really competent at his job, and he did pretty well in high school, and he's lived on his own since he was 16 and kept himself alive the whole time. And no one else has ever said or hinted to me, gee, your boyfriend is kind of a dumbass. So, WTF? Is it me? Am I the crazy one? Am I a B? So, that is. Let me read the too long didn't read real quick. Boyfriend struggles with board game instructions, technology, high school level math. I struggle with mounting resentment. Can this be worked out? What does it mean to have such ugly thoughts on your SO? My initial thoughts are that it can be frustrating to have someone be bad at everything and you having to play a sort of parent role, which isn't something you should be doing, especially for a partner. It can make the relationship super toxic, super mundane, because you're not having someone who you're equal with. You're with someone that you have to babysit, and it limits you from doing your own thing or viewing them as your equal, which shouldn't be the case. You should be able to view them as, hey, I can trust this person because I'm gonna be spending the rest of my life with them. You can't be babysitting them all the time. You have your own life as well. All right, let's read the first update. 2 months later. I'll save you some scrolling. We broke up. Okay, that's understandable. This is pretty long and rambling and probably not even relevant, but typing it out here helps me sort it out in my head, so you might as well all come along for the ride. Some more background. My ex graduated with a degree in biomedicine last year, but never actually looked for work in this field as far as I know. This didn't strike me as a problem at first since he's always taking care of himself just fine and he never seemed that enthusiastic about his degree anyway. Enthusiastic. There we go. I spent several years after high school working odd jobs while I figured out what to do with my life. Most of the way through nursing school now, so who am I to judge, right? But gradually, I just got more and more of a sinking feeling about things. Mostly because he kept talking about how he wanted to get a PhD and become a professor, and I felt professorship was a pretty optimistic goal for even the most brilliant of students. But how do you tell your boyfriend you think their dreams are widely unrealistic? So he decided he was going back for his master's. After cool. I posted the original thread, I realized I've never spoken to him about his negativity while we were both calm. That's good. At least it seems like she started to talk to him about it. So I sat him down one day and told him that while I was going to be there for him in many times of real distress, I couldn't take all of this complaining anymore about his coworkers, my housemates, his housemates, about losing games, about the train system, about math, about art majors. Apparently, they all work at Starbucks. He's not entirely wrong there. The one time I'm pointing out the irony of this, he went real quiet, and Larry told me I really hurt his feelings and do not strike such low blows in the future. Guess I missed a hell of a red flag. Okay, if you can't take jokes, you shouldn't be really making them. Okay, I told him it was exhausting to constantly have to attend to one crisis or the other, and that perhaps he could benefit from seeing a therapist. In addition to everything else, He's also had depression on and off, and I figured it was a good chance to learn better coping skills. Well, That didn't go over at all. He immediately accused me of not caring about his feelings. Here we go again. And that he should be able to say whatever he wanted to me. And psychologists just want to give you happy pills to make you think like everyone else. When I told him psychologists aren't licensed to prescribe medication, he went silent for a while and said it doesn't matter. They still just want to convince you it's fine to be a loser and everything's okay with you. Okay, sounds like he's self projecting at this point. I asked him if he thought he was the loser. Nice. And he said he doesn't think he's a loser. He just thinks it's important to stay aware of your flaws and punish yourself when you mess up, which is why he runs so much. What? Okay. He's just trying to flex, I guess. At this point, I end the conversation because I don't know WTF to say. That's crazy. Okay, so the other thing that has been bothering me progressively more is that he's currently taking units so he can start his master's next semester, but it struck me as kind of weird that he had to take math and science prereqs considering he already has a degree in biomedicine. I'm pretty sure he graduated. He has a photo of himself and his gown on Facebook, but every time I try to ask, he'll hand wave it away like he was hiding something. That's suspicious. Okay. You guys think he paid someone to pretend to take pictures of him to make other people think he did graduate in the gown? Of all the problems in our relationship, this was the only one that made me feel like I might be nuts because for all I know, there was a perfectly simple explanation, but why the evasiveness? Agreed. Anyway, reading back everything I wrote feels super weird because there's a lot of crazy shit and it's like, well, sure, that happened, but it wasn't like that. But maybe it was. After my failed attempt at talking, I felt like a giant dumbass for not realizing the relationship was doomed from the start. But I was dreading actually breaking up with him until the boat ride. All caps. Oh, I can't
So
wait
in my
to see
town,
what happened here. There's a few places you can hire a little sailboat for an hour and sail around the water in the summer. Fun couples activity, right? Before the horrible talk, actually, that is super fun. Especially I prefer more like canoeing, but to each their own. As long as it's on a boat, it's pretty cool. Um, Sorry about that tangent. Before the horrible talk, we've made plans to do this, and he didn't know I was going to break up with him, and I was so clinging to the hope of fixing our relationship, so we went sailing. All went well for about 10 minutes until we had to turn the boat, and of course, turning a sailboat can be tricky if you've never done it before. As we're trying and failing to turn the boat, I can see him getting more and more agitated, and I try to lighten the mood by joking about our struggles, and he replies with something like, "Oh, sure, it's fine to be shitty at things. Who needs standards?" And I should have known not to expect to be good at sailing. I tell him there's no reason he needs to be good at something we're just doing for fun and to just try to enjoy the activity. Something that I'm sick of saying and he's evidently sick of hearing because it sets him off on one of his rants about how he can't do anything right. And people who don't care about how well they do are dumbasses. Everyone is a dumbass. I just want him to be happy with being a dumbass. The boat is stupid. Sailboats are stupid. Our town is windy. After that, he's just too upset to talk and snaps at me every single time I ask him to hold a rope or whatever. Dang, bro. Like, you're not gonna be good at everything you do, you know? All
that's
because
okay.
he had trouble turning a higher boat. So I turned to him, yelled, "You're dumped," jumped into the water, and swam back to shore. Just kidding. I did that in my imagination. I broke up with him a couple days later. That is crazy. Okay, so I'm glad they broke up. They were not meant to be. The guy just seemed like insufferable, and I'm glad she was able to leave. Okay, what do you guys think? And let's move on to the next story. Okay. Am I the asshole for making my wife confess to all her friends and family that she cheated on me and she did not want a divorce? I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 32 female, for about 5 years, and we have 3 children. A few months ago, I found out from my wife's text that she had been cheating on me, and I confronted her about it. She confessed to it and gave me an entire breakdown of her affair, which had lasted for a month. I was devastated and asked her why. She gave no excuse for it, and she said she had caught feelings for her affair partner, which were wrong, and she had acted on them. He was her co-worker. I had asked if I had liked anything, and she said no, and she was in tears. Real quick, I think this is not going to last, but to keep on going, I needed a few days to process this. My wife gave me some space, but she asked me many times to reconsider divorce because it would uproot the lives of our children. She said she would do anything I wanted for the rest of my life. Okay. After a week, I decided that I needed only one thing from my wife to completely forgive her, and that was to call each and every one of her friends and family and confess to her affair. I told her that was my only condition. She was really hesitant and asked me if I could reconsider the condition because this would ruin a lot of her friendships and family relationships. But I told her that this was what I needed as a part of my forgiveness process. And if she didn't do this, I was going to start looking for a divorce lawyer. Yeah, this relationship is over. Um, Over the next week, my wife made a phone call to all of her friends, parents, grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, pretty much anyone she knew, and confessed to her affair. It was hurtful, and there was a lot of crying. My wife curled up with a lot of shouting. By the week's end, my wife had called everyone I had wanted her to call. Okay. So what she did was unforgivable in my opinion, but what he did was super petty. I feel at that point, even if you stay with that person, everyone would know what she did. Like, she shit the bed, and you're just telling everyone to come look at your disaster show of a relationship. But let's finish this story real quick. It had been a few months, and my wife and I actually have a really strong relationship now. I highly doubt it. However, my wife has pretty much become isolated from her friends and a lot of her family. This has hurt her a lot, and she spends a lot of nights crying, but she says this was worth it for our relationship and our children. In my opinion, you're not the asshole, but you're just being super petty. Okay, moving on to the next story. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend I'll break up with her if she did hard drugs? So, my girlfriend and I, both 28, were chilling, and she showed me this meme that said something related to drugs. We started talking, and she asked if I'll ever try hard drugs. We were specifically talking about heroin and meth. I said no because I saw my family struggle with my cousin's addiction, so I wouldn't want them to go through the same thing with me. We started joking around, and she asked what would I do if she tried it. I said it would definitely be a deal breaker for me and that I would break up with her if she did. She got upset and stopped talking to me. I asked her what was wrong, and she was like, "You said you would stop liking me if I did meth." I was like, "Well, yeah." So no, now I don't know what to do. She is still mad. LOL. In this situation, I think you're in the right. There's some deal breakers in relationships, and this is one of those things where if your significant other decided to do drugs or like hard drugs and they've been through situations that made them think that they don't want to be in the same situation, you putting them in that situation would definitely be a reason for a breakup. So Especially for something as intense as meth. It's yep. All right, now on to the next one. And this last one, um, am I the asshole for not holding the door for other people? A few days ago, I went on a university campus tour with my mom. The tour group had 10 to 12 people and lasted for around. So, my dad is furious that my mom slept with other people in a open marriage he wanted. My parents got married when they were both super young. My dad knocked up my mom and their parents married them off. My grandfather was able to set up some business for my dad in a big city and they moved here soon after my birth. My mom grew up in a conservative southern town where she was taught to be a submissive wife, and even after moving to the big city, she didn't spend much time socializing. She had no friends and never went out. Uh, my dad was only there to provide for us. He was always away on business, and he wasn't there as a husband for my mom or as a father to me. Okay, so we're setting up the background here. My dad made a lot of money, so we never lacked anything. Growing up, I became my mom's best friend. We would talk about everything. I pushed her to make friends and to find hobbies. After years of pushing, she finally started going to a nearby park and made her first friend, a gym trainer. Encouraged by her friend and me, she decided to join the gym. Nice. She met a few more people there and started having some semblance of a social life, but she still continued to tell me everything. I think my dad's new secretary gave him the idea, but he asked my mom for an open marriage. Okay, that's never good. Almost a year ago. He told her that he wasn't happy in their marriage and that she wasn't providing him with everything he wanted. My mom, who is a Christian wife, was mortified and told me about the proposal in tears. I suggested she get a divorce, but she said she didn't believe in it and she wouldn't be the one to end their marriage. Okay. So at that point, anytime someone suggests an open marriage, I think the marriage is doomed. Um but let's keep on going. As my dad pushed, I knew exactly where this would end up if my mom agreed. Her friends and I convinced her. My mom was hesitant at first, but she agreed with the condition that they would be completely transparent with each other. Dang, so she's doing this just to keep them together. Okay. My dad was a middle aged 41-year-old man with a belly, and my mom, 39, was an athletic woman who worked out regularly. I'm a 22-year-old woman, by the way. I don't know how my dad was so blind or what he thought would happen. I helped create online dating profiles for my mom almost 6 months ago. After getting an insane number of matches, choosing from them, and chatting with them for months, my mom started hooking up with a few people. Getting all this attention had provided a massive boost to her confidence and she seemed better. My dad hooked up with his secretary almost immediately. Oh, okay. So now we know why he wanted it. He had very little luck with other ladies. With their transparency thing, my mom tells him about all her hookups. A few weeks ago, my dad screamed at my mom for some minor thing. Usually, my mom would have apologized, but with all her new confidence, she didn't back down. It's been constant fights the last few weeks. My dad keeps starting fights by making snide remarks about my mom's clothing or appearance. He almost even called my mom a whore, but stopped himself. I think open marriage finally sunk in. My mom told me he tried to have a conversation about stopping their open marriage, but she immediately shut it down. I think they'll split up. My dad was never there for either of us, but the thought of my parents splitting up still feels weird. I don't feel bad for my dad, but I wish he put effort into his family. I'm happy for a mom though. That it's pretty wild, especially after the dad's the one who suggested it, just to hook up with us his secretary and then he regrets it afterwards, just because he can't get anyone else. He can't be mad at anyone but himself. But here's a update. About 1 month later. A few days after my previous post, my dad left our home and had a divorce served to mom in a week. My grandparents didn't know about any of this, but my dad told them when he served the divorce, he also implied to them that my mom was cheating on him, bro. Both sets of grandparents came to our house and started berating my mom. I kept screenshots of all my parents' communications, and my mom showed to them, and it got way worse after that. Grandparents started fighting each other, blaming each other, blaming other children for causing all this. A few days after this, my mom's old church friends came to our house. Back when my mom used to go to church, they used to look down on her for being from a small town. My mom has always been a very caring and non-judgmental person, so she was disagreed with her bigotry and they've been excluding her from their activities. After she met her gym friends, my mom stopped going to church entirely. These quote unquote church friends started calling my mom a slut and she kicked them out. Dang, bro. Yeah, sometimes even though people do go to church, they don't follow the teachings of it and give it a bad look for everyone else who actually respects it and follows her teachings. But to keep on going, my mom is on a cut right now, so she has very defined abs and arms. So along with all the normal stuff getting thrown at her, my grandparents accuse her of having a man body, and I guess that's a compliment. And she also had a lot of random transphobia thrown at her. Her trainer friend has been a great support through all this. She contacted the attorney she used for her divorce, and my mom is spending a lot of time at her house. Turns out the business my dad is running is owned by mom. Okay. It was set up by my mom's dad in her name, so it belongs to her. I did not know this until now and assumed that my dad owned it. The whole situation is a huge mess right now. Dad is living in some hotel, and my grandparents left yesterday after a week of fighting and trying to force my parents back together. I know there's a lot of divorce trauma to come, but I hope it calms down for now. Okay, so about a month later, this one's in May 13th. The first update was April 20th, so yeah, about a month later, new updates. A lot of shit has happened since my last update. Firstly, I wanted to thank all the woe wishers on my previous post. Writing these posts has helped me process the stuff that's happening, so I'm making another one. My mom's attorney, the one recommended by my mom's gym friend Lisa, has been a great help. She walked my mom through what's going to happen and reassured her. She started looking through the company stuff and prep for the divorce proceedings, and we found a lot of shocking stuff. I don't know why I was surprised by this, but my dad was having affairs for a long time. He used company resources to book flights and resorts at holiday destinations. There were receipts for many trips with multiple women spanning the last 10 years. Damn. Because he was always absent from our lives, our mom didn't suspect anything. It didn't seem like he had made any effort to hide these. Spending company money on this is extremely wild. I don't think he's gonna end up with the company at the end of this divorce. He also used the company email to talk to his secretary about the affair stuff. Oh, okay, that's just plain dumb. Turns out they were fucking months before my dad asked my mom for an open relationship. This is what we gathered from their emails. After months of their affair, the secretary didn't want to remain a mistress, so he started pestering my dad to get a divorce, but they wanted my mom to initiate it so he could get a massive chunk of the company. Ah, okay, so it was a plan from the very start. So the secretary is part of it too, huh? Okay. The secretary came up with the idea of asking my mom for the open relationship. They hoped that my mom would be horrified and ask for a divorce. They were caught off guard when my mom agreed. My dad got jealous when my mom started having sex. After initiating the divorce, he deleted all of his emails and told his secretary to do it too. Unfortunately for him, they were still stored in the company email server. I haven't seen my dad in over a month. All of his communications have been through his attorney. He apparently wants half the company dude, wanting half of a company when it's not even yours and you're the one who is causing the worst is pretty crazy to think about. My mom's attorney are still looking for more evidence, but they told us that they don't expect him to get much with the evidence they have. Lisa has been supporting my mom through the whole ordeal. She also got divorced because her husband cheated on her, so she's been helping my mom a lot. Okay, moving on to the final update about 4 years later. Let's see, and this is March 10th, so this happened maybe like 7 days ago at the time of this viewing. Okay, I mean 7 days ago at the day of the recording. You guys gonna be watching like in 2056 for all I know. Who knows? Hey guys, I was clearing. Okay, so 4 years later. Hey guys, I was clearing out some old safe passwords on my laptop today, and stumbled back onto this throwaway account. Rereading my old post from 2022 was a wild trip. It honestly feels like a lifetime ago. I know it's been 4 years, but since the dust has completely settled, and there was also a lot of messages asking for an update, I figured I would finally post a real update for anyone who remembers this mess. The divorce dragged on for a bit because my dad fought tooth and nail for half the business. But like we found out back then, my grandpa set the whole thing up in my mom's name. Once his lawyer realized that going to trial meant a judge would see exactly how much money he blew on his 10 years of affairs and the other criminal headaches that might come with it, he folded. He took a sizable make him go away payout to sign the papers and was officially booted from the company. Okay, as expected. My mom kept everything. She didn't want the stress of running it day to day, so she made herself chairman. She hired a real CEO and management team to do the heavy lifting. So now she just oversees the big pictures and collects the profits. Nice. But all her free time, she actually went into business with her trainer friend, Lisa. They opened a boutique job together a couple years ago. Lisa runs the fitness side, and my mom handles the business end. She's 43 now, still absolutely shredded and living her best life. She also casually she's also casually dating a guy who is also divorced. They've been seeing each other for a few months, taking trips and just having fun with zero pressure. She is so completely different from the quiet, submissive woman when I was growing up. Hey, that's good for her. As for my dad, well, he married the secretary. Oh, I don't think that will be going too well. Well, who knows? Turns out when you aren't using your wife's company to fund luxury vacations, life is a lot less glamorous. They live in a pretty downsized average life now. I'm 26 now and I'm very low contact with them. We get lunch maybe twice a year and it's always stiff and awkward. He still tries to make bitter, passive aggressive digs about my mom, but I just ignore it or change the subject. Looking back, my dad's genius plan to ask for an open marriage so he could run off with his secretary and steal my mom's company was the best thing that has ever happened to us. It totally backfired on him, and it gave my mom the push she needed to realize she didn't need him. Thanks to everyone who rooted for her 4 years, and thank you for watching the video, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.